Alright, hello everyone, welcome back. It's that time of the week. It is time for some more PSGL. Today, we arrive at Australia for round number 9 of this season. It's 32 championship in the Formula 5. I am your race commentator, More Games, and joined alongside me is Otaku Logan. And how are you doing today?
Yes, I'm doing brilliant. Glad to see you back as well, too.
Yeah, definitely
But
glad
yes,
to
we
be
are. Oh,
back.
sorry. Yes, I should say, last week I was on my own, so it was really tough, honestly. Uh, we're here for the third to last round of the championship here at a very dreek, as they say in Scotland, Albert Park. As you can see, it is raining while it is super hot in the real life. But yes, the Albert Park circuit, the home of the Australian Grand Prix, a 5.2, and there's a problem with my computer as I try to get it up, a 5.28 kilometre circuit with 14 turns to navigate, although it does say 16 on my map. I'm using Wikipedia, so don't blame me. It should be 16, I think it is. Anyway, yes. This circuit has some major changes, doesn't it? It has changed to turns 9 and 10, which have been made much flatter. No braking zone. It is flat out. And of course, turns 13 has been made sharper for more action, as well as we see BB8 making his move down towards said turn, which is named after Ascari, not to be confused with the one at Monza. We should take a look at the point standings as everyone makes their way out of the track in these very these very tricky conditions. Bradders leads the way with 89 points. Now, he can win the championship tonight if... Actually, he won't win the championship tonight, sorry. He could pretty much be 1 point away from winning the championship if... Actually, no, he will win the championship tonight if Baki and Lars fail to capitalise on tonight's race. If Bradders wins and Baki and Lars don't score, he'll effectively win the championship with 2 rounds to go. But that's pretty much a long shot. I think Bradders, Baki and Lars will try and make their way up the order tonight. They need some points here, otherwise it may be game over. The Bradders is on 89, Baki is on 72, and Lars is on 70. Daniel, who won last week and the fastest lap, is on 51 and becomes the fourth driver to win this season. Baki has no wins to his name, I should mention, so he wouldn't be able to win the title if he managed to get 0 points, and Bradders won with the fastest lap because 17 points available in each round, as we do have some yellow flags. So it's all to play for tonight still, but Bradders has a massive edge.
Very exciting prospect indeed. Bradders, like you said, could pretty much obtain the championship, as Toby has actually DNF from the session there on the exit of turn number 2. So he is sadly going to end the session in this early stage. Yeah, big crash there on the exit of turn 2. Obviously in these wet conditions, minimal grip, and most likely lost the rear end on the exit curb there, which is quite easy to do in the dry, so even easier to do in the wet. But yeah, like you said, Bradders could pretty much win the championship in this round, and well, he could win the championship if he got a race win and the fastest lap, with both Baki and Talent Factory Lars getting 0 points. And well, already the race hasn't begun, and we know Talent Factory Lars is not going to be getting any points, and that is because he's sadly...
Oh, he's not here.
He's not here, yeah, exactly. Not here tonight, which is a shame to see. Third race this season that he's actually missed. He missed 2 in a row because of his injury, and now he's missing a third, so he's lost so many points in the championship, and it was such a shame because he looked like he really had a good chance of winning this championship.
Yeah, he did, and it's because he has a test, which is quite a shame. So it doesn't look like he's going to be winning the championship unless Bradders somehow spins out. So only Baki can get it, because if Baki fails to score and Bradders clean sweeps this race, remember, because he has 4 wins, hypothetically, he has 3 right now, but if he gets this is 4, Baki has 0, can't win the championship, because on count back, wins trump. Wins will be the tiebreaker. If not, then seconds and thirds and so on. You know the gist. We had to go over this, actually never in F1 because it's never happened. We had a half-point difference between Lauda and I think it was Prost for the 1984 championship, or 85, I can't remember. In 84, it had to be because Lauda won it. But yes, as we said, it is Brothers to lose tonight. He has one hand on the a finger on the trophy, as 11 drivers have made their lap. They're going to be doing multiple laps because the Inters very slowly wear out compared to the dry tyres, which you'd have to be one and done and go back into the pits, unless it's probably mediums. We have 12 drivers on the board. BB8 leads it by about 6/10. We are ahead of Cherno, Baki, Daniel up there too. Baki needs to get up there. Brothers is only 6th place down, and in fact he's tied with Danielle. I'm not sure if they actually 1, 2, 7, 1, 9, 8 because sometimes they're not rounded to the nearest thousandth. They're like the 10,000th, but we can't see the nearest 10,000th because it should be, as Havnik goes to second, it should be whoever sets it first gets it, but I don't think it happens in this game. Francesco, originally known as Speedfrag, gets up to third with a 395. 3 drivers in the 126 freeze. Baki's improved to 126.6. But there's a long way to go, 11 minutes and 15 seconds left.
Yeah, like you said, Brothers down in P8 as of right now with a 27.1. Currently 8/10 off of the provisional pole time set by Tin. He's currently P1 and just by 5/100ths of a second over Hav. And then obviously the top 3 all into the 1 minute 26.3. So very, very close here at the top so far. Then we have Baki in P4 and a 26.6. He'll be looking to improve upon that time, which he currently is, as he heads out of turn number 10 and into the brand new turn 11. So yeah, it's very interesting so far. The drivers are quite close, but obviously some drivers still adjusting to these conditions. And you can see a lot of drivers doing laps as there we go. Brothers goes to P1 by less than 1/100th of a second.
Oh boy.
Yeah, 9/1000ths of a second. Now VIR Daniel goes to P1 with a 26.2. 1/10 clear of Brothers. But yeah, some drivers you can see doing multiple laps on the same compound. As now Hav goes into 1 minute 25s and the first driver to do so. So that puts him in P1 second in this session.
Yeah, and they're probably going to be tumbling right now because I think the track is getting grippier and grippier. It's getting much better. Still a little rain as BB8 nearly loses it. No traction control in these divisions, so it's going to be much tougher for our drivers to find the fine line, find the grip on this track. It's much easier if you've got traction control on. You should see my video where I was actually racing the champion himself, Lucas Blakely, in a open lobby. It's on my YouTube. I could show it to you later. And I beat him because I had traction control on, he didn't, and it was just a fun race anyway, so it doesn't really give me much pride. It was just fun to hang out with the champ, the GOAT. Sorry, Yarno fans. But yeah, as you know what I'm saying, I'm quite biased, I'm Scottish. Should go over the absences, actually, as the segment still goes on. Just call me out if there's been any fastest laps. First of all, Janu has left the league, unfortunately. Very sad to see. It's starting to get, I've got fewer entrants. There's going to be less entries because of, near the end of the season and lots of things going on, of course. Janu's quit the league. Ruti Hullet's wheel has broken. Debo's got exams. Lars has got exams. Flying Dutch Roger, Cherno, Rodaz and Danielle on the screen there are all reserves. Lars is actually not... It's not just he's got tests, he's actually got his hand is still injured, so he doesn't want to risk racing tonight. Vandenberg's went skiing in the Alps, probably. Jordy is ill. Vinch has got work commitments. Slimbo's ill. And Russell has no internet. So that's the long list of absences. Quite a shame, but... this isn't Formula One. We're not committed to putting all our monies into it like Andretti is, I hope. As it looks like very quiet on the track now as I speak, so I picked the right time to cut in. Doesn't seem to be many drivers in. They're probably changing their intermediates. Brothers is still on the track. Is he faster though, Maury?
Yeah, it looks like you can see right now, currently on the 26.3, so he's only 4 tenths off of that provisional pole time, and currently on a lap. So we'll have to see if he can improve, which it looks like he might. But yeah, let's see.
Again.
What's he going to do across the line? It's a 26.2, so it is an improvement of time, but not of position just yet.
Enough.
But that puts him a little bit closer now to the provisional pole time. Only 3 tenths off, and 7 minutes and a half left to go in this session means there's plenty of time to set more laps. So you can see he's also done 5 laps on this intermediate compounded tire, so it is a little bit worn now, and possibly overheating a little bit if he's running those high pressures for the qualifying session. So yeah, he's definitely got a lot of time left in that lap, which I'm sure he's going to find later on in the session. But right now, Have on provisional pole position, was the first man to get into 1 minute 25s. Francesco in P2, otherwise known as Speed Fra. He's currently on the provisional front row. Tin BB8 is in the top 3 and doing pretty decently so far in this qualifying session. VIR Daniel in P4. It's Jerome currently P5, and Brothers is in P6 with Baki right behind him in P7. That is your top 7, and then you can see all of the top 10 are currently on to the 1 minute 26s, and then the likes of Rodaz, Thebo, Flying Dutch Roger, Lakitu, and Slash all have to find some more time before they get into those 1 minute 26 second lap times. But yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, these conditions are quite tricky for all of the drivers, so obviously some of them are struggling a little bit more in this session. But hopefully, well, not hopefully, but we'll have to see if this rain carries on to the actual race itself, because if it does, that could really spice things up at a track that's quite dependent on the DRS in the dry, because obviously 3 DRS zones at this circuit, so plenty of overtaking opportunities hopefully in the Grand Prix itself. But right now, obviously, we have on provisional pole position with a 25.9. But do you have any idea who you think might be on pole position for tonight's Grand Prix?
Not a clue, because it's still raining. Very variable weather. It looks like it's starting to stop raining, though. It's still a couple of drizzles, but of course it will take time for the rain to clear up. We've got 5 minutes left in the session, and some, because of course they've got to finish their laps when they cross the line. No, BB-8 almost lost it in turn 2, but he manages to hold on. Great control, but it is going to cost him a bit of time. He just must be lucky that he's went out of that unharmed. But this could be anyone's, really. Braders, Baki, Havmik, Francesco, probably in amongst those group that will go for pole position. Of course, Daniel as well. Could be any one of these guys, but I have absolutely no clue, because it is starting to clear up. Remember, it's kind of like when everyone's going for this, but then we realise, oh, Kevin Magnussen on pole position. Just like last year. But yes, the Albert Park circuit, I should mention, has been used since 1953, not 1996. It's actually 1953. It was used for a non-championship race, I believe, back in... Yeah, the 1953 Australian Grand Prix was a Formula Lever motor race, which was like Formula 1 but more freedom. It's not really a Formula 1 Grand Prix, though. And it hosted the Grand Prix in 1953, won by Doug Whiteford, whoever that is, in a Talbot Lago car. And it went on until 1958, as BB-8 is about to cross the line, and I believe setting a lap, but doesn't go faster. I think he's going to go for a lap now, though, because he's got like three laps of fuel in the tank, as the top drivers are making their way out. Havmik makes his way out, Francesco's making his way out. But it was reopened in 1996 to replace the Adelaide Grand Prix, sadly. Thibault gets onto the board, 3rd place, 3 thousandths behind Speed Fra Francesco. But yes, a lot of history in this circuit. Not many people would know of if you're a casual F1 fan, but if you're hardcore like me, you will remember that we used this back in the 50s for Formula Libre races. So fun fact.
There you go. Always love a good fun fact every now and again. As Have currently on his lap time and 2 tenths up coming out of the first sector, and also 2 tenths up coming out of the middle sector. So looking to improve on his already impressive lap time, but through turn number 10 there, cutting that one a little bit too much, and he invalidates his lap time. So he's going to have to abandon this one, possibly go for another lap in this session. Like you mentioned, Thebo shooting himself all the way up to P3 in this session with a 26 flat. Good lap time from the Aston Martin driver. But there's now 2.5 minutes left to go in this session. So let's ride on board with VIR Daniel and really get a feel for what these conditions are now like at the end of the session when the track is as rubbered in as it can be in these wet conditions, as BB8 goes to P1 with a 1 minute 25.8. So he beats Have's time by 1/10 of a second. Now Daniel into turn 1 and 2. You can see using as much curb as possible on the entry of turn 2. Then a long run, which would usually be DRS in the dry. As we hit turn number 3, the hairpin was readjusted for this season of Formula 1 as Daniel out of turn number 4. Big snap of oversteer in these conditions, and now we make our way into turn number 6 and 7, trying to carry as much speed as possible through there, as also a part of the track that was changed for this season. A lot of parts of this track were changed, especially in the middle sectors. We're now arriving on this new straight, and also the new reprofiled turn 9 and 10. You can see a little bit of indecision there from Daniels. He turns into turn number 9, but he is now heading into turn 11. Let's see, also a new turn, and you can see he's just about missing that red sausage curb on the inside line. Now through turn 12 and up into turn 13. Very tricky and very easy to lock up at this turn, but he manages to keep it pretty clean. And now out of the final turns, looking like it could be a decent lap time here from VIR Daniels. He comes across the line. It is going to be a 1 minute 25.9, which puts him P4 in the session. Bradders is currently P2 with a 25.8, and his current lap time is invalidated. I think he is going to get across the line to set one final lap time in this session.
2 laps of fuel.
There you go. So he does have enough laps of fuel to go for one final lap. So let's ride on board with our championship leader as he begins his final lap time of the session, along with many others. You can see 4 drivers on the main straight there as they make their way into turn number 1 to begin their final laps. And it looks like one of the Alfa Romeos has made a mistake. That is Francesco into turn number 1, making a mistake and going wide, which means he is not going to be setting another lap time in this session. So that 25.8 is his final time. So far, 3 drivers into the 1 minute 25.8. Bradders looking to change as he heads through turn number 3, trying to carry a little bit of momentum there as not hitting the apex of turn number 3 into turn 5 now, trying to keep your foot flat to the floor even in these wet conditions. It looks like he did. 1/10.5 improvement is exactly what he gets for it. Now onto this back straight here as we head out of turn number 8 and preparing yourself for the chicane of turn number 9 and 10. And you can see, BB8 has finished his session. So his lap time are over. Have goes to P1 with a 1 minute 25.7. That means Bradders now needs to find about a 10.5 improvement, if not 2 tenths, to get the pole position time. Thebo retiring from the session. He comes back into the pit lane. Sanchowitz moves to P6 with a 26 flat. Now, Bradders, can he get this pole position? He's got 2 more turns to go as we head through turn number 13. A little bit wide through there. Trying to be tight through this turn number 14. And now on to the final straight of his qualifying session. What kind of time can Bradders set across the line? To 25.5. He goes to pole position and by 2/10 of a second over the Mercedes driver of Have. It's Jerome goes to the top 3 at the death of the session with a 25.7. Meanwhile, Baki in P6 with a 25.9. So the top 7 all getting into the 1 minute 25 second lap times, but it's going to be Bradders by 2/10 of a second getting pole position for today's Grand Prix.
Wow, Baki down in 6th. Disappointment for him. He really needs some points. He needs to score to keep his championship alive, or Bradders will take it tonight from on a Qantas plane back home. A virtual one, that is, on Microsoft Flight Simulator. But you get the point. It's Bradders on pole position with Havmik in 2nd, Jerome in 3rd, BB8 4th, Francesco 5th, Baki competing the 3rd row, Daniel Sanchez on the 4th, Thibault and Cherno on the 5th, Daniel and Lakitu on the 6th, M/Slash and Flying Dutch Roger in the 7th row, and the last row is Rodas and Toby, who failed to set a time. So there you go. A long race ahead, though. 29 laps around this hallowed park circuit here at Albert Park in the centre of the home of Australian sports, Melbourne. Home to the AFL Grand Final, home to an event in the Ashes, home to pretty much every sport you can think of, home of the Olympic Games in 1956. It is a sporting haven from down under. So here we go, Mark. The big one, the race. The race that could clinch, potentially, Bradders the championship. And it's nice and sunny. Look at that.
There you go. It's going to be a dry Grand Prix for tonight's race at round number 9 here in Australia. And yeah, like you said, Bradders on pole position, so even in the wet conditions, showing that he has the pace to be on top. And well, if Baki gets a bit unlucky, or if he shows a little bit of inconsistency, definitely could be Bradders' day to win the championship title here at Australia. But the drivers are now preparing their strategies and fine-tuning their setups and getting ready for today's Grand Prix start, as they are now all on the grid and getting ready. You can see 3, 4, 5 red lights. They're gone. We're away. What kind of start is it for a poleman of Bradders up against Hav? It looks like not the best, because Hav is looking to the inside line into turn number 1, and he's gotten the lead out of turn 1. So Hav is up into P1 with Bradders falling down to P2, but he's looking to fight back into turn number 3 to the inside line, trying to break as late as possible, but Hav is not giving up this position as he turns from outside to inside through turn number 4, and he holds the lead coming through turn number 5. So Hav is up into P1 off of this race start. It's Jerome holding P3, Tin holding P4 now. And our VIR Daniel has moved up 2 positions from P7 now to P5. He's had a pretty good race start. One man who's not had a great race start are Sanchowitz, Francesco and Rodas, all having spins. Sanchowitz actually has had a spin and broken his front wing completely down off of the exit of turn number 8, so he is now down into P16. Francesco's not had the best race starts as he falls from P5 to P12, so he's not put himself in a great position off of this race start, but Bradders is keeping up the pressure on the likes of FNR Hav as they come out of the final turn of turn number 14. It's been a great race start for Hav, and I'm sure he's going to be fairly happy with that one.
Yes, he is, and he sets the fastest lap. Well, in the first lap, doesn't really going to matter. It's going to be smashed in the second lap. But you get the point. He is in the lead ahead of Bradders, who's just playing it carefully. And I should report, Toby had lost his entire front wing. Francesco, as you heard by Gasp, lost a lot of positions after getting spun around by maybe Jerome at the start, and is now down in 12th place. Picked some positions from those who had misfortune on the first lap, one of them being his teammate M/Slash. Rodas and Sanchovitz spun. He's coming into the pits. Toby came into the pits and back out. It's just been a dismal start for the McLarens. A dismal weekend for the McLarens, I should say. But as we get back in, it is still a half a second lead for Havmik, who has really impressed since his arrival in the lead. He had scored a 2 third-place finishes in a row, and he's looking to get his first W here in PSGL. But Bradders needs to fight back. but Baki needs to keep it together. I think his best case now is to try and just pick off these positions one by one, not make so many daring moves. If he does that, he could lose the championship. I should also mention Flying Dutch Roger really living up to his name. He has already gone up 4 positions. This is impressive. Yeah, you could have said all those spins have happened, but he's kept his cool, and he's now in 10th place from 14th, and he's going to try and chase down Danielle as DRS is now enabled as Havmik sets the fastest lap again. And here goes Brader's first opportunity at trying to get close to Havmik.
And it's definitely going to make his job a lot easier with the power of DRS as Francesco is trying to regain his positions as he gets past the Kidu but goes wide coming through turn number 3. There's a side-by-side now through turn number 4 and he loses the position to the Williams driver. A mistake out of turn 3 there, and it looks like he's struggling a little bit at this Australian circuit as a couple of mistakes has lost him a lot off of these first 2 laps. But yeah, like you mentioned, Flying Dutch Roger doing a great job so far, keeping it calm and consistent, and he's staying within the DRS range of Danielle ahead of him. But with DRS now enabled and all the way down to P12 all having DRS, this now means the only driver in the top 12 without DRS is Hav, which leaves him very, very vulnerable to Braders behind him. Francesco makes a move into turn number 13, but once again loses the position off of the exit, and Likidu for now holding on to his P11. So Francesco really needs to iron out the mistakes now so that he can hopefully get up into the top 10 in the points paying positions and maybe even beyond. Into the top 7 or so, but right now he needs to get past Likidu if he wants to get anywhere near that. And once again, another mistake. He's now got 3 seconds of time penalties after just lap 4 of this Grand Prix, so the inconsistency really creeping in for Francesco. But off of these first 4 laps, these drivers have kept it very clean, very consistent, although Francesco now DNFs from the session. That is on the exit of turn number 4. You can see his car going the wrong way, and he is now out of this session, and yet the safety car has now been released, so it's really not been Francesco's day.
Yeah, as they said on Saturday Night Live, Francesco Franco is still dead. Oh, that's so sorry about that. But that is Francesco's dismal day over. He started 4th, and he is out of the race. The first casualty here at Albert Park. The safety car is out, and Tobiz, Rodaz, and Sancho are actually back in this race. This is their lucky chance today. But now Braders has some chance to regroup and figure out a way to get past happening. Oh, and he pump faked there going into the pits. Hinted going into the pits, but side against it. And he will stay out. I'm sure they'll all stay out. They're all on hards. But that could change. It looks like they're all, yes, they're all going on, staying on their hard tyres. Not sure about Tobin Satrovitz. They are actually on mediums and softs respectively, so I'm not sure what they would do here. I'd probably pit for, well, you never know, there could be another safety car later, but that's entirely down to them. At the rate, it looks like everyone's going to be staying out on hard tyres because they're going to last long here. I think hard, medium, hard, soft, the way to go, do you think, Jack? Moore? Not Jack, sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong commentator.
Yeah, I think the strategy for a lot of these drivers, obviously not boxing in this early phase because it's starting on the hard compound tyres, so I think they're going to stretch their stints until they can go on to the mediums and make it to the end of this Grand Prix. And if I'm not mistaken, the mediums last about 11 laps, so we can see the first pit stops around maybe lap 17 if some drivers want to go for a bit more of an undercut, or if there's a safety car a few laps before that, you could see some drivers going for a bit more of a risky strategy. But yeah, it looks like most drivers on that hard medium strategy. Obviously we have Toby and Sanchowitz going for very different strategies, and Sanchowitz actually going onto the soft compounded tyres. So I'm not too sure what tyres he's going to be using in this race, but he's gone for that aggressive strategy, and hopefully he can make it work by making up a few positions off of the safety car restart. And he's going to really need to hope that he can, because if he doesn't, those soft compound tyres are going to go to waste. But all of the drivers now in single file following the safety car as we head on to lap 6 of 29. And you can take a look at the position changes here. So, obviously, Have getting the race lead off of lap number 1. He's been able to hold that up until this point. So, doing a pretty decent job up against our championship leaders of Brothers. So, our championship leader of Brothers so far. So, Have doing pretty decently for himself in this race. Obviously, Brothers now he's in that P2 position. Both drivers are going to be able to save up their ERS and get back to that 100% mark. And Brothers is really going to dictate how this plays out now, because he has the DRS and he decides when he wants to make that overtake. So I think he's in, even if he's not in this race lead, I think he's still in a pretty decent position tactically. It's Jeronis held his P3 position off the race start, along with BB8 holding P4. So both of those drivers doing exceptionally well so far in this race, and it's Jeroen possibly going for his first podium in PSGL's Formula 5. VIR Daniel, he's moved up a few positions and he's gained the most positions out of anyone in the top 6, so he's had a decent start for himself. Then we have Baki in P6. Obviously gained a position from Francesco spinning and then lost it to VIR Daniel. So Baki really needs to try to overtake the drivers ahead of him. Being in the top six, it's not going to be good enough if he wants to continue his championship campaign up against Brothers.
Yes, should mention, by the way, Toby has pit again to serve as penalty. Don't think he's going to make it in time, so maybe doing another lap behind the safety car as we make our way, as the safety car makes our way towards the final corner. Yeah, he's not going to make it in time. So we will be doing another lap behind the safety car. Havmik still leading the way, and it will be Brothers trying to look for a move into the first corner on Havmik. And we wait for Toby to make his way around. He's done the pit stop service penalty, and he's on hard tyres, so he may make the end of the race, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, these are new hard tyres, I think, because they had to save them due to the wet conditions in the qualifying session. So, the order remains the same. I wonder what kind of carnage we're going to have at the first corner. I'm always anticipating that when it happens, because, you know, it gets exciting when we get these safety car restarts. No pitters, just except the bottom 2. So the pit strategies are still going to play a part in this Grand Prix tonight, but it is still all to play for, I have to say, with the resetting of the order, pretty much. Havmik I'm not sure if he has been in this position before, but he's in a race-winning position. I shouldn't really say it early and count my chickens, but this is a position where he has to really defend deep, with Brothers chasing him down, and probably Drone and BB8 if they keep going, as the safety car will be coming in the slap. Now that's a surprising thing. And oh, what's this? Havmik is already slowing down. He's already slowing down. He's really keeping them on their toes, Mur. This is some crazy stuff going on. Moment safety car comes in, he brings them to a slowing down, and I don't know how long this is going to take. We could be here for days.
Yeah, you can see weaving his car, trying to keep the temperature in those hard compound tires, which is absolutely crucial. These tires need a lot of work to get the heat required to have some decent grip on them. But you can see coming through turn number 12, he hasn't gone yet. He's waiting and he's waiting. And you can see Brothers getting very close to the back of him, but when is Have actually going to go? It looks like out of turn number 13. So Have is got the safety car restart underway, and so far it looks like everyone has done pretty decently off that.
It's a brilliant start from Havmik, but Brothers is getting closer. I don't know what's going on here. He had a massive lead, but it's suddenly been cut down. I thought Havmik had that time to perfection, but Brothers has clawed back up. It's 3 attempts now, 4 attempts, give or take a few hundredths of a second. The order looks like the same as we left off. Danielle chasing down Cherno. and the two Williams doing battles. We have a spin, and it is Daniel. Daniel, who won last week, and it doesn't look like it's going to be happening unless this miracle occurs. He goes right down the order to 15th. Not sure what was happening there. I was too focused on the battles behind. We've got the two Williams battling. That's quite unusual. Flying Dutch Roger and Lakitu as M Slash is passed by Sanchovic, making his way up the order. On those soft tires, he has a good edge on terms of tires, and he makes his way up the order, picking them one by one. Next will be the two Williams boys, Roger and Lakitu. But Bradders close it down to 3 tenths, and Toby is out. Toby is out of the race. He is crashed out of turn, I think it's 12, turn 12 that is, and guess what? It's a virtual safety car. So, we're going to regroup again, and we're going to slow down. Actually, we're not going to regroup, we're just going to slow down. It may be upgraded to a full course safety car. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. It doesn't look like it's changing. And they have to maintain positive delta here, because if they don't, then that means they will get a drive-through penalty, and that's the last thing they want, especially at this closing stages of the championship. And we're back underway, and immediately they're getting stuck in. Bradders is going for the lead, but he's getting cut off by Havoc, and now Jerome and BB8 are getting involved.
It's a very, very close after a very short virtual safety car there, and some drivers possibly getting caught out by that, but Have maintaining his lead, almost got caught out, but he is in P1 ahead of the Hash driver of Bradders, but it's now getting very, very close at the top as Sanchowitz on the the soft compounded tire, tearing through these hard compound tire runners and overtaking them one by one. So we'll have to see if this strategy works out for him, but and Bradders now under a little bit of pressure from It's Jerome there, who had a look to the inside into turn number 11. But VIR Daniel has now got himself a 3-second time penalty, and being down in P14, it won't affect him just yet. But we now head on to lap 10 of 29, and I think the DRS is going to be enabled this lap, obviously, after the obviously after the safety car was disabled, but now re-enabled. And you can see this, it's not going to be used for this straight just yet, as the detection point is at the end of the final sector. So Bradders safe for now up against It's Jerome, but BB8 and It's Jerome are getting extremely close now to the back of the Hash driver, and they could be a shout for this race win, as Bradders is slowly losing a little bit of time to Make ahead of him. Currently 7.5 tenths is the gap between himself and P1. So lost a little bit of time there, and that has definitely put him under pressure. But BB8 is staying very, very close to the back of It's Jerome all the way through the lap, and he could be looking for a move at any point now. He's got plenty of ERS to play with, and as we head down this DRS straight, I think he's a little bit too far away to be going for a move just yet. But as he slowly cuts into the advantage that It's Jerome has over him, which definitely is not much, he could be trying to make his way onto the podium for the first time in Formula 5. Meanwhile, Bradders is trying to win, and not for the first time, but Have is. So Bradders, he's going to be putting the pressure on now as they head down the pit straight using his ERS. He looks to that inside line or outside line, I should say, goes slightly off of the circuit there, and Have holds his position. It's Jerome trying to get the better exit out of turn number 2. Could he look for a move to the inside? No, it's going to be the outside line at turn number 3, but he's not committing to that line. He cuts back in onto the racing line, and everyone holds position for now, but it's starting to get more tense as the drivers are looking for those more optimistic moves the further we get into this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and Flying Dutch Roger gets onto the penalty box. You don't want that. He's been up 4 positions, but that 3-second penalty will hinder his chance of getting further up the order as BB8 looks for a move on Jerome. Here's where the carnage will ensue. The DRS zone in the 3rd sector. Who's going to make a move? It will be Bradders with the initiative, but he's not going to get anywhere near, and neither are Jerome or BB8. Backy holding position as well. It doesn't look like there's going to be many close battles, but they're all in an orderly manner. The Habmick train is well and truly chugging around the Albert Park circuit, like Trulli's one was. All aboard as we come to lap 12 or 29. And BB8 is getting a 3 tenths gap on Jerome, but Jerome is getting closer as Bradders starts to set it up. He wants to get past now, and he wants to get past ASAP and then run away with hopefully the race and also the championship. But it doesn't look like he's going to get anywhere close for now. It's just the DRS is not giving him enough. Look how close the cars are together. It's like Britain 2022 as Havmet goes a little wide at the car park. And they come out. It doesn't look like it's faced him that much, but BB8 has a tip on Jerome, but he did. He was right up there, but he couldn't make a move as Thibault starts to close up as well. Meanwhile, Stankovic with his soft tyres, how is he doing on those? He's got 7 laps, and I'm not sure how much they're going to run out because eventually they're going to die out, and eventually you'll have to pit. So he's got to be careful. Meanwhile, up at the front, what's going on, Mort?
It looks like everyone holding super for now, but like you said, these drivers are getting so close to each other, and for the past couple of laps now, BB8 has been within a 2/10 or 3/10 gap, I should say, and following so closely to the back of It's Jerome, but It's Jerome has the DRS on Bradders ahead of him, so he's able to defend from the Alpine driver for now, but then BB8 still has around 70% ERS. You can see using it down this pit straight. He wants to get close to the back of the AlphaTauri because he obviously wants to make that move. Bradders, out of turn number 2, you can see not using any of his ERS, so no one just yet, apart from BB8 maybe, really wants to change their position as It's Jerome getting extremely close through turn number 3, trying to follow in that dirty air as much as these Formula 1 2022 cars will allow him, which is definitely a little bit more than last year, but you can see Thibault through turn number 7 and now 8, and pretty much every single driver has DRS apart from our race leader, obviously. So these drivers are all on the DRS train. Stankiewicz is hanging on his 8-lap Bold Soft Compound tyres, so doing a pretty good job at managing that tyre wear so far. Bradders now out of turn number 10. Once again, he has an opportunity to overtake here. He's only 2 tenths behind coming out of turn 10, but not using any of his ERS and just trying to follow very closely to the back of the Mercedes driver. But you can see there's not too much action going on. I think that what these drivers are now doing is they're staying out in these hard compound tires for their first stint, but once they go on to those medium compounded tire, that is when things are going to get a little bit more spicy. As It's Jerome, a little bit of oversteer there out of turn number 14, as it looks like VRT Cherno is the first man to box for the medium compound tires quite early on in this race. They're going for quite a big overcut over the rest of the grid, and VIR Daniel follows him into the pit lane. So both drivers going onto the medium compounded tyre, and I think that undercut is going to work out for them when they don't have the advantage of DRS that everyone else is now going to have.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about this one. A bit early, I'd say. It's not an undercut. It's not an overcut, it's an undercut. It'll be an overcut for the guys in front. But yes, it's quite an interesting move from Cherno and Daniel, getting on the mediums quite early. I think this is how long they're going to last to the end of the race. So 16 laps they'll have to do around the circuit, 2 temps. Meanwhile, the gap at the top, remember these guys, they will have to pit. I think the hard compound's pretty good for the circuit, but if you go on it too long, it might cost you. Here goes Bradders and looks at a move, but he can't get there in time, runs out of runway, and has to stay put for now. As I was saying, yes, Stankovic will need to pit eventually. His tyres are graining a lot. He'll have to pit next lap or this one. I'm not quite sure, but he looks like he may have to turn himself in. But he's turning himself in. It's a bit late as well. He may be under scrutiny for that, as Baki also comes into the pits for his pit stop. So it's gonna be a double stack. This is not going to be good for Stankovic at all. It's backfired. A miscommunication as Flying Dutch Roger has spun. Oh, what a shame. He was doing very well in the start, but he is going to go back up to 10th for the Red Bulls both pitting, and Stankovic is going to be in a bit of bother here because Cherno's just got past, so this has actually paid off for Cherno. Despite my opposition against it, he's jumped over Stankovic, and so is Daniel for that matter. Meanwhile, the top 4, it's still a bit sedate, but they may get closer if they can find some edges around the corners. If he can gain an edge around the corner, it looks like Brothers is much faster when it comes around the curve here at just near the pond of Albert Park. And he's really close. He was 2 attempts there, and he's now got a massive run on Javnik. Here he comes, and goes right to the inside. Into the lead goes Brothers, and that is crucial for his championship challenge. This is fantastic from Brothers. Javnik will have to find somewhere to get back past, and that time is now. He needs to think, and he needs to think faster. Brothers is going to run away with it.
But Brothers now boxes. There you go. Brothers is into the pit lane, so all that hard work to get into the lead, and he boxes.
The pit lane. He's got a the pit lane.
5-second time penalty for our championship leader, who was hoping to battle for this race win, and that could really compromise him now as he comes out of the pit lane about 5 seconds behind where he should be. So that's a rookie error there from Brothers, and it's really going to cost him, as it looks like the guys who went for the overcut now sending fastest laps of the Grand Prix. VRT Cherno trying to get ahead of Thibaut, who's just come out of the pit lane. They're going to be going side by side through the third turn of this circuit. Cherno going very deep into that turn 3, forcing Thibaut off of the circuit there, and has moved himself up into P9 because of that. But a lot has now gone on. Baki very close to the back of Tim BB8 as he's got the warmer medium compound tires. Thibaut now gets a 3-second time penalty for extending the track limits, and there's been a lot that has just happened. Brothers is currently in P5, but with a 5-second time penalty. It's Jerome doesn't have a DRS advantage. Because he's 1.4 seconds behind the hash driver of Brothers. That is going to hurt him. But now, FNR Hav comes into the pit lane and is boxing now for the medium compounded tire, along with Danielle, Lakitu, and Rodaz all coming in for the medium compound of tire. So let's see. Brothers out of turn number 14. Where is he going to come out relative to the Mercedes driver? It looks like the undercut is going to work, and he is going to come out ahead of the Mercedes driver. But you can see Hav a little bit deep into that turn 2 with the cold mediums. He's going to be overtaken now by Itch Jerome. He's using his ERS to try and carry the speed around the outside through turn number 3. And Itch Jerome moves himself up into P2 in this Grand Prix. He is ahead of the Mercedes driver who once led this Grand Prix. And Brothers now 2.3 seconds in the lead of this race. He is really going to have to push extremely hard if he wants to win this one with his 5-second time penalty.
Yes, he is. What a move from Giron. He had to take his opportunity, and it absolutely worked like a dream. He's into second place, and Havik struggling on these tyres. BB8 has a tab on him, and he's going to try and make a move for third place. This all kicking off here down under as they make their way to turn 13 once again. It looks like Havnik is going to hold on to third place once again, but that could change in the next few laps as they battle through, and fortune favours the brave. Indeed it does, it says on the poster. But Brothers needs to run as fast as he can. He catches him. He is the championship leader, and he needs to run with 12 laps to go. He sets the fastest lap, and that will be crucial, because if he wins and Baki 2 draws a goose egg, he will win the championship. But he needs to shrug off that 5-second penalty. He's halfway there already. That undercut has helped him. And Jerome needs to move, and there's a battle going for BB8 and Havnik, battling into turn 3 and 4. Into the car park they go. They don't want to park their car here now, but they want to race around it, as it looks like Havnik has done very well to defend his podium position for now. It will be his 3rd consecutive podium and his 3rd consecutive third. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, it's all kicking off. As you can see, the 2 Williams are at the back. Unfortunately, neither of them are going to do an Alex Albon like their compatriot is. So, yeah, that's quite unfortunate. But BB8 now trying to find past, and Daniel gets another penalty. It's just not been his day after that spin he had earlier tonight. BB8 closing up on Havnik. Round 13 they go once again, but now it's 3.1 seconds. Brothers is really putting on he is putting on the Ritz. It looks like it could be game over for the rest of the field. Lars watching on at home will be in disbelief. Sorry, Lars.
Yeah, Brothers is doing an absolutely fantastic job. Without this 5-second time penalty, he'd look like he'd be on for a comfortable race win, but now he's got the work to do. He's got to push to find another 2 seconds to the likes of Itch Jerome behind him, and with 10 more laps of racing to go, it is entirely possible, as he has made the gap from 2.2 to 3.2 in just 2 laps time. So he is finding absolutely phenomenal pace on these medium compound tires, and he's going to continue to do so relative to the AlphaTauri, who's got to deal with the pressure from the Mercedes behind him. Havmik wants to get into P2, if not P1, in this Grand Prix, and he's going to be doing everything in his power to do so, but he has got the feisty Alpine of BB8, who has a big moment of oversteer there out of turn 10, showing great car control to keep it on circuit, but it has lost a little bit of time because of that, and if he makes any more mistakes like that, he could be under serious pressure from the Red Bull of Baki behind him. But it looks like the top 5 is now separated from the rest of the grid. Cherno doesn't have that DRS to Baki ahead of him, which means Thiebaud is in a great position to challenge for that P6. Only problem is he has got himself 3 seconds of time penalties, which would drop him right back down to P7. But once again, BB8 is in closest proximity to another driver on circuit, and trying to take advantage of that, but not just yet, as we head through turn number 3 on lap 20 of 29. And you can see Brothers has extended another 5/10 in just 1 lap. He is showing amazing pace, and showing us pace that he has shown in the past, and showing us once again why he is leading this Formula 5 championship. And it looks like even with this 5-second time penalty, he could still win this Grand Prix.
He could, but if Jerome and Havmik keep battling, then it could be game over for them. It's now nearly 4 seconds for Brothers. He's just performing like his idol, Lewis Hamilton, running away when it matters. And there he goes into the distance, never to be seen again. And Jerome is just waiting there, just sitting there and thinking, oh, what is going on? Why am I 4 seconds behind? Because Brothers is just too quick for you. Havmik is now catching him again after that insane move Jerome pulled off at the car park. Meet me in the parking lot, he says, and he meant it. Havmik now got the DRS, but can he get anywhere near? The answer is no, nowhere near. 3 attempts ain't gonna cut it, pal, as Thiebaud gets past Cherno for 6th. But he has a penalty, so he may lose that when we get to the end of it. 9 laps to go here at the Albert Park Street Circuit in the centre of Melbourne, the centre of Australian sport and the Olympic Games host in 1956. But Daniel now closing up for 7th place, but remember he has a 6-second penalty, so this may just be academic as we go around turns 9 and 10 past the lovely lake there is in the middle of the circuit, which makes this track very unique, I'd have to say. Oh, and he looked like he cut the corner there, but it doesn't look like he's been given a slap on the wrist by the stewards as he's side by side with Cherno. In he goes into turn 13 and into 7th place as the top 3, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th drivers in battle, and Thiebaud's got another penalty which will be added to his time at the end of the race. And Havmik chases down Jerome again. BB8 chases Havmik down, but no one's coming close to Jerome, and this isn't helping because guess what? The gap is 4.3. He's only 7 tenths away, Brothers, from clearing the gap that he needs to clear and winning this race perhaps. But he's got to keep this pace up. Even if his tyres wear out, he's got to stay focused, got to keep his head down. If he doesn't, then that's it. He might have to wait until next week to try and pretty much wrap this championship up. Well, he has to depend on Baki, who's just having a very sedate and inactive race. He's been in 6th and 5th, and nothing else has really been going for him. But regardless, it won't be a good look for him, because if Brothers wins this race, at this rate, with this fastest lap, he'll have a 29-point gap above Baki, and that will just be the final nail in the coffin. Perhaps Brothers will just need 5 points to win the championship in the next 2 races, which doesn't look like a hard job at all. But it's all Brothers this time, and he's extending the gap. He's about 6 tenths there.
There you go, Brothers, the Aventus Racing driver, absolutely flying in this Australian Grand Prix and presenting himself with a great opportunity to win this Formula 5 championship. Meanwhile, there's still a battle going on for P2 in this Grand Prix, which still could be P1. The pace at which Brothers has been going to relative to Ichiron has started to slow down now. He's not been gaining the 5 tenths per lap that he was gaining just a few laps ago, but that gap is steadily increasing. 6 tenths he needs to find in 6 laps. He needs to find 1 tenth every single lap if he wants to win this Grand Prix. It's Jerome, though, still has every chance to win. If he stays within those 5 seconds, and let's see if he can do just that. Meanwhile, Baki has actually lost the DRS to the top 4, so lacking a little bit of pace in this race. He cannot keep up with the Alpine driver of Tin ahead of him, maybe due to a lack of ERS, which is preventing him from finding the pace relative to the guys who all have DRS. Meanwhile, you can see Thebo has made a mistake out of turn number 10 that has allowed Daniel to fly past him and up into P6. Thebo on 9 seconds of time penalty, so he is actually going to drop all the way from P7 down to P13 at this rate. So the likes of Cherno and Danielle are going to gain 2 positions because of Daniel and Thebo. And Thebo actually comes into the pit lane now, and a little bit of oversteer there as well. And I think that is for a front wing change, or no, he's retiring. There you go, retiring from the session.
That's it for Thebo. It's just not been a good day for him. He's got 9 seconds of penalties, and I think that's just the final nail in the coffin. He's just pit, and it's all over. So Baki now with not much happening again for him. I think this will put the champagne on ice for Brothers, but it will bring him 1 step closer to championship victory, as now he's 1 tenth away from the barrier, the 5 second barrier, and I'm sure if he gets through here, no, it's still 4.9. There it is, 5 second barrier has been broken. He is now in the lead of this race, perhaps. It might drop down to 4.9, but it'll fluctuate. It's 5 seconds now. Huron has done everything he can, but Brothers just been too fast for him. Brothers still running away as I speak, making his way to start the 25th for 29 laps here down under, as the drivers behind him battle for the podium position. And what could have been this race if Jerome couldn't push himself to limit, but Havmik is just fighting for second best, and Jerome has a penalty now that might seal it. Jerome has a penalty. He's just pushed too hard and he's paid the price. And now Havmik smiles. The gods are smiling on him now. He will get 2nd place, and it'll be his best finish of the 3 he's had in his 3rd consecutive podium finish. I have to say, that's pretty impressive. And BB8 there as well. He might get a podium.
It's definitely possible now, as Jerome just lacking that little bit of consistency out ahead of Hav, and slowly losing time to the likes of Brothers. So it looks like Hav now has to consider, does he want to overtake the AlphaTauri driver? Because not only is it's Jerome losing time to Brothers ahead, he's also got himself a 3 second time penalty. His Baki has got himself a 3 second time penalty now. So that is right now not going to cost him anything, but if VRT Cherno starts to catch up, it could definitely lose him P5 in this race. And VIR Daniel slowly catching up to the back of the Red Bull drivers, so he could be under pressure in a few laps time. But we are now entering lap 26 of 29, and Hav is getting extremely close to the back of Ichiro now. He wants to make this move. He knows he needs to if he wants any chance of winning this Grand Prix. But as they head into turn number 3, not using any of his ERS, yes, it looks like Flying Dutch Roger is now retired from the session. That has brought out the full course safety car.
Are you kidding me?
There you go, Brothers with his 5-second lead. It's going to completely disappear now as the safety car is about to bunch up the entire field.
What?
And Brothers, who put in all of that hard work, it looks like it's going to mean absolutely nothing in this Grand Prix.
It had to happen now! Brothers has just been given the great reset. He has to start from scratch. Havnik has a chance to win the race. And only his third start. BB8 has a chance to win the race. Baki is going to be on tenterhooks now. And Brothers has to serve his penalty. Brothers has to serve his penalty. I think he might be okay, actually. I'm not sure. He could fight for the win. He has to come in. Oh, and a collision penalty. No, he stays out. He stays out, and that could be a costly move. But I think I know what he's trying to do, and this might... No, they're all staying out. They don't want to pit.
Yeah, and it really seems like Brothers' best bet would have been come into the pit lane there.
Yeah, Sanchovic is pitted, and a couple of back markers have pitted, but that's expected considering they want to get up the order in this late stage of the race. But my goodness, the safety car! It could be a saviour for Baki in this championship. He thought it was over, but it's not over until the checkered flag falls, as they all say. Brothers can't believe his luck. It's just like, well, I mean, he's still going to lead the championship by a lot, but can he hold it together? If he makes a mistake, then this championship could be blown wide open. Again, Baki needs to get up the order. He has a 3-second penalty. Jerome and Havnik, they're fighting for themselves. They need a win to prove themselves. They are worthy to challenge the top drivers in terms of individual races. Safety car in this lap as we expected. Brothers is on his own, and look what he's doing. He's copied from Havnik. He is slowing them down right now, getting all of the energy he can. I don't think Slash is going to make it there in time. Sanchez and Lakitu will make the line in time for a battle. Actually, I'm not sure. Will Slash make it? I think he might, actually. If Brothers keeps slowing them down. Yeah, I think he'll make it. So Brothers, oh man, he needs pretty much a miracle to win. He's going to fall behind Jerome, definitely behind Havnik and BB8. I'm not sure about Baki, though. If he gets up the order, they're all still on medium tyres. Everyone is now bunched up. It's anyone's to win, and fortune favours the brave, as it says that Crypto.com hoarding. Here we go. 2 laps to go. And it's going to be Baki that leads him. And oh my gosh, Jerome nearly hits him. Here we go. 2 laps to go. More, take it away.
And Brothers out of turn number 14 for the 27th time, and that's a big spin for VIR Daniel. A heavy impact into the wall on the exit of turn number 14, and he is out of this Grand Prix, so close to the end of the race as we enter the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix. And it looks like our main contenders for today's race win are FNR Have and Tin BB8. It looks like they're going to be battling it out. Meanwhile, Sanchovic is going to be on an absolute charge on his fresh soft compound tires, as coming out of turn number 5, his traction is absolutely insane relative to these medium compound tires. Goodness. He absolutely flew by Danielle and is up into P7 with 0 seconds of time penalties. Don't count him out for what could possibly be a podium in this race. Meanwhile, up front, Have just has to keep it consistent and keep BB8 behind him, and he could go on to win his first Grand Prix in Formula 5 as they head down into turn number 11 now. Sancho is trying to catch up to the top 6 and hopefully make an overtake or two, as We are coming through turn number 13 for the penultimate time in this race because Brothers is preparing for the final lap in round 9 of this Formula 5. And with 5 seconds of time penalties, it looks unlikely that he'll be able to break a 5-second gap to the drivers behind. Meanwhile, keeping it consistent and keeping it on track as Sanchez gets past VRT Cherno. He's up into P6. His next target is his teammate Baki, and he could definitely finish on the podium at this race as he's currently within 3 seconds of Baki. It's Jerome with 5 seconds of Brothers. So this soft compound tire stint and this risky strategy could pay off for the Red Bull driver as they head now through turn number 6 and 7. Sanchez getting closer and closer on this main straight, on this back straight I should say. Baki with less than 10% ERS. Sanchez knows that he's vulnerable coming out of turn 9 and 10 as they now head into this Ascari chicane, and Sanchez just has so much more grip, gets an amazing exit out of turn number 10, and he looks at that outside line trying to keep the racing line over Baki, and that is exactly what he is going to do. He moves himself up into the top 5 and onto the net podium. But as we head through turn number 13, it is going to be the Mercedes driver of FNR. He's drove an amazing race, a consistent race, 0 seconds of time penalties. So as he comes across the line, he is going to win the Australian Grand Prix in his very first Grand Prix win in Formula 5. An amazing performance from the Mercedes driver. BB8 getting his first podium in P2, and Sanchez finishing on the podium, getting driver of the day after going for that late soft compound tire stint. What a Grand Prix, and it does not look like Brothers is going to be wrapping up this championship tonight.
Sanchez, where did he come from? He had spun on the very first lap, and then everything falls into place, and he gets a podium from absolutely nowhere. But it's Havmate that gets his first win in just his third start here. What was that finish?
Absolutely insane, and the grid completely mixed up by the end of this race, but have an amazing Grand Prix, and it shows that consistency truly is key. By keeping it within the track limits for the entire race and not speeding going into the pit lane, he is the man who comes out on top. Tin BB8 getting his first podium in P2, and Sanchez, like you said, an amazing result for him to go for that late stint, and with 0 seconds of time penalties, it really paid off because he's also the only man to get a 1 minute 19 second lap time, and he steals the fastest lap of the Grand Prix by quite some margin over Brothers, who had the second fastest lap of a 20 lap. There you go. So Brothers finishing in the top 5 and Baki in P7. So this championship, Brothers still leading by quite some margin, but Baki still has every chance to win this championship, but he needs to put in some really solid performances for these last 2 rounds. But after what was one of the most exciting races of the seasons, and so many drivers doing amazing jobs, if you had to give one of the drivers here today the Driver of the Day award, who would you give it to?
Sanchez, he was absolutely miserable day so far. And then the safety car comes out, it all opens up, pits 4 times, and still gets third. Everyone pitted once. He pitted 4 times. He went to the casino and he came out a winner. I tell you that right now. He gets my Driver of the Day. Sure, he got lucky, but he had to put in the performance somehow. He had to strike while the iron's hot, and he got it. Boy, did he get it. Oh. And everyone, I'm honestly, a lot of people are sending condolences right now to Brothers. They feel he was robbed.
Yeah, definitely. That safety car completely out of his control. And that is why I'm going to give my Driver of the Day to the man who finished P5 in this race. It's got to be Brothers. Even if he didn't get the result that he wanted to, the amazing pace that he had on those medium compound tires, to be braking about 5/10 per lap for around 4 laps in a row, and then to keep up that pace, break that 5-second gap, have a chance at winning that Grand Prix, and he won would have won if it wasn't for that safety car. So even if he didn't get the expected result today, he definitely gets my driver of the day just for his absolutely fantastic pace. But I hope you all enjoyed this Australian Grand Prix. I know a lot of league racers don't really look forward to this race on the calendar, but from a spectacle point of view, it was an absolute banger. So I hope you all enjoyed this Australian Grand Prix, and if you did enjoy, make sure to like the stream and make sure to join us next week where we come to round number 10. This season is getting very, very close to the end, but we arrive at Abu Dhabi for the 10th round of this season, and another track that's had a few turns reprofiled for these new generation of cars. So make sure to join us next week for round number 10 where we arrive at Abu Dhabi. I have been your race commentator, More Games, alongside Otaku Logan, and we will see you next week.